6:17 a.m. on a Monday. The alarm didn't wake you up. You were already awake. You've been awake for 20 minutes, lying in the dark, doing the math again. The same math you've been doing for months. How much? How long? At what number does the alarm become optional? Today I'm going to give you that number. Not the motivational version, not the start investing version, the actual, cold, mathematical answer to one question. How much money do you need invested before the dividends alone pay for your entire life? Because the number is specific, and the distance between where you are and where it lives is not as impossible as the silence in that room at 6:17 a.m. makes it feel. Before the number, you need to understand the machine. Dividends are not magic. They are companies paying you a percentage of their profits simply for owning a piece of them. The average dividend yield on a broad market index fund sits between 3 and 4% per year. So for every $10,000 you invest, you receive between $300 and $400 a year in passive income, while you sleep, while you work, while that alarm goes off. At this level, that's not freedom. That's a phone bill, maybe two. But it is real income you did not trade your time for. And that distinction, that tiny, almost invisible distinction, is the entire foundation of what comes next. Dividends don't care what day it is. They arrive on a Tuesday the same way they arrive on a holiday, and that indifference is the point. Let's call him Ryan. Ryan just got a raise, $8,000 more a year, and within 3 months, it's gone. New car payment, upgraded apartment, a watch that signals to whoever is watching that Ryan is winning. You didn't get the same raise, you got a smaller one, but you did something Ryan didn't. You automated $600 a month into an index fund and didn't touch it. 3 years later, you have $50,000 invested. Ryan has a BMW and a wardrobe. At 4% yield, your portfolio is now paying you $2,000 a year while you do nothing. Ryan is working overtime to cover his lease payment. You have not told Ryan any of this. There's nothing to say. The math doesn't need an audience. The raise is not the asset. What you do in the 72 hours after the raise hits is the asset. At $250,000 invested, something strange happens. Not in your bank account, in your head. Your portfolio is now generating roughly $750 to $1,000 a month in dividends. That covers rent in some cities, groceries and utilities almost everywhere. But the stranger thing is what it does to conversations. Ryan mentions his credit card debt like a badge. Everyone has it. It's normal. You say nothing. He talks about treating himself. You calculate the opportunity cost automatically without meaning to. This is what economists call translation loss. You and Ryan are still speaking the same language, but the words mean completely different things underneath. I'll buy it later means something different when later is funded by dividends. The loneliness of wealth isn't about money. It's about the moment you stop speaking the same financial language as everyone around you. $500,000. At 4% yield, this portfolio produces $20,000 a year, $1,666 a month, every month, without you doing anything. Here's what the bank does not do. It does not congratulate you. It does not send a letter. The dividend payment arrives the same way it did when the amount was $300. Quietly, automatically, indifferently. The bank was never mean to you when you were broke. It was never on your side when you were building. It is a system, and systems don't have opinions about you. They just process the inputs you give them. At $500,000, you were beginning to give the system better inputs than Ryan ever will. And the system will process those inputs the same way, quietly, automatically, forever. The system was never your enemy. It was never rooting for you either. It is just math, and math rewards whoever takes it seriously first. At $750,000, something inverts. The math that used to feel like a ceiling starts to feel like a floor. Your dividends at 4% are now generating $30,000 a year. That's $2,500 a month. In many parts of the world, and in a growing number of cities, that is a life. A quiet, unhurried, fully funded life. But the real inversion isn't in the number. It's in how you experience time. For your entire working life, you traded hours for money. 1 hour of your attention, 1 unit of your irreplaceable time, in exchange for an agreed amount. At this level, that trade starts to feel optional. The dividend doesn't need your hours. It doesn't care if you work on Tuesday or not. The money is moving whether you show up or not. Ryan is still at his desk at 7 p.m. You left at 4. Not because you don't care about the work, because the alarm is becoming optional, one dividend payment at a time. Salary is trading time for money. Dividends are trading money for time. one of those runs out. So, the number. If your annual expenses are $50,000, a modest but comfortable life in most developed countries, you need $1,250,000 invested at a 4% dividend yield to cover them entirely, every dollar, every month, without touching the principal. If your expenses are $75,000 a year, $1,875,000. If $100,000, $2,500,000. These are not fantasy numbers. They are outputs of a formula that doesn't care about your background, your postcode, or what Ryan thinks of your car. The formula is annual expenses divided by your dividend yield. That's it. That's the entire equation. The question is never whether the math works. The math has always worked. The question is whether you start giving it the inputs it needs and how long you're willing to let the inputs compound before you touch them. $1,250,000 isn't a number. It's the receipt for every decision you made or didn't make in the years before you needed it. The alarm goes off again tomorrow at 6:17 a.m. or whatever time yours is set for. And here is the truth that nobody says clearly enough. The gap between the person lying awake doing the math and the person whose dividends make that alarm optional is not talent. It is not luck. It is not the size of the raise. It is the gap between who you are right now and who you are quiet enough to become. Ryan will wake up tomorrow and spend the raise. You already know what you're going to do. Right now, tonight, you are either the person who does the math and goes back to sleep, or the person who does the math and starts giving the system better inputs. The choice is yours.